School for ChangeMakers 2011 took place in June at Liverpool Hope University. One of the contributors to a working track was Fiona Daukes, who spoke about her father.
My father volunteered to join the Air Force at the beginning of World War II as a chaplain. He was a Christian minister, and he was sent on a troop ship to what is now Ghana, and it was a very crowded ship, and they had engine trouble and they had to come back here to Liverpool, so they were out of convoy and they had to try and catch up the convoy, but they never did that because they were torpedoed. And this was in 1941. He was aged 42, and within 20 minutes the ship went down. And in that time, of course, there was panic on board. There was also a lot of bad behavior by the officers who got off ahead of the men, and the lifeboats got jammed, some of them, so they couldn't use them, and people were really screaming and panicking. And my dad, evidently, was comforting the wounded and trying to help people have the courage to get off the ship. In fact, one man who did come back said he put his hand on his shoulder and said, "Go with God," and he jumped into the water and he was somehow saved. And then my dad saw that the companionway down to the hold had been blown up, and the men were trapped there in the water, and they were, there was pandemonium. And he asked a Marine to tie a rope around him and lower him down to the men. And he said, "You'll never get out." And he said, "I know, but my love of God is greater than my fear of death, and I must be with my men." So they lowered him down, and the last time he was seen, the water was up over his shoulders, and he prayed with those men. Well, that was 1941. And my mother got a telegram saying that he was missing. And only in 1947 did we hear what had happened to him. It had all been hushed up by the Admiralty, and finally a survivor came back after the war, and he wrote to the newspapers and said, "This was a very brave thing. Why has nobody here ever heard about it?" And then floods of letters came into the paper from survivors and families, saying how grateful they were for what my dad had done for these people who were dying. And the journalists asked my mother, they said, "He must have been a very brave man." And she said, "Well, no, he wasn't actually, but he had learned to listen to that voice within. And I think for him it was simply the next step to be obedient to that thought." And this was splashed in the papers, Anyway, I was 10 when he died, but 16 when I heard about all this. And I was rather keen on going on the stage, and I wanted a career for myself, and I wanted a glamorous life. But somehow what he had done, went very, very deep inside me. And I thought, well, he wanted to build a different kind of world, and I need to live to make that happen. So that was a very definite choice I made. And then I thought,